What do you think?
Yeah,
Does that
sure.
sound interesting?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me begin with a before we write code, kind of like a short, a brief introduction before doing that. Why did I do this thing, or why did we do this? You said that you did a bit of Java, a bit of C#, and in those languages, when you write a function like, and I'll just write random things here, right? But for example, if you write a function that's kind of like int add with int a and int b, right? And let's say this is part of something like a member function somewhere, doesn't even matter, right? Of course, you might do return a plus b here, right? But you might also do like you might do this thing in here. You might do like I don't know, this or whatever. You could do all sorts of silly things inside such a function, right? And the thing is, these are how should I explain this? You could even throw something, right? You could do throw, right? And kind of like you get used to reading code like this, right? In a this is called imperative code, right? You write basically commands to the computer, right? Do this and then do this and then do this, right? And then do this. But then when you're doing functional programming, you're kind of you're not writing commands. You're kind of creating expressions that do computation. So you can think of functional programming functions, right? These are, we could call these methods or whatever you want to call them, but they're not really functions, right? Because if I told you what does this look like in math, like if it were a math definition, it's like how do we write this in math, right? We can write this in math and like this, right? You could say it's a function going from int times to int or something, right? And then we could write this in math, right? But this part, there are ways to do it, but it's very, very complicated, right? So what helps us with basically in functional programming, we don't have these sort of things, right? We can't do silly things inside the function, like no side effects, right? And we can obviously do write line in console and read line or whatever, even in functional programming, but not like this. Not inside a function that says that it takes two ints and returns an int, right? We don't do that. And we don't throw exceptions randomly, okay? So functional programming is a lot more kind of like this. And of course, it has way nicer syntax because this is, as you can see, it's not very easy to work with like this, right? So you can think of functional programming as some nice syntax on top of Lambda calculus, basically, right? It's kind of like, but like the core idea, everything that it's about is basically this, right? You write, like you combine things in a way and like just pass arguments to it. And let's see, for example, let's see, what's the first example that we can, okay, this, well, maybe something that's useful. Let's write this first, right? So let's see how would we write this in Purescript. Let's see if I do this split screen, is whether things are too small. Do you also see a split screen if I do this on your end, or I'm not sure how? I mean, you could have a look at the stream and see how I've set up my screens.
I have this. I have the stream opened on the other monitor. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think you could do the same thing if you want to like follow along easier. But we will be writing in the main, like in the Purescript file for now.
Okay.
Right. So let's try to do this thing here. Right. So no, sorry, the addition here. Right. So let's say, how do we do this? Well, we'll give it a name first, right? And we'll say add, right?
Okay.
Then we can say add equals to, and then you'll see something that's very, very similar syntax. We can do lambda x, right? And then lambda y. It's just instead of dot, we do this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
This arrow kind of thing.
Arrow, yeah.
Yeah, and then we can do x plus y. And we'll get a warning here that's telling us we have not declared the type for this, and then we can click this thing and then apply suggestion, and it will do it for us. But this is not very helpful, I don't think, right now. So we'll just ignore the errors for now, right? And we'll figure them out later. Okay, so we'll not worry about the squiggly line here. It is just fine. Right, so then this is basically exactly the same thing as this, right? Well, as this part, right?
Yeah.
So now let's see how do we. This is a nasty rabbit hole. And then, okay, how do we apply something to it? Well, let's see how we apply something to it. So we'll, you'll have to trust my word when I say that we need to do this first in order to write something down, right? And then we'll type add, which is this, the name for this, right? So we introduce this thing called add, right? Like it's a function, and then we can do add 1 and 2, right? And this is how you basically call it, right? And it's like, as you see, it's the same syntax here, right? Actually, if we wanted, we could even do this. Oops, sorry. Right, okay. And it will still work, and we'll see that it works. Okay, so let's try to run it. Right, so you see the result here, 3 and 3, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So basically we could type, like this is literally this, right? We agree here.
Yeah.
And then we could give it a name and make it easier for us, right? And this is what like an important part of FP. Okay, instead of having this long thing, we just give it a name. But like what the compiler does when you run this function, you can think of it literally as the same thing that we evaluated here manually, right?
Yeah.
Like the way the compiler evaluates the result. And then, okay, do you want to try writing the Purescript version of adding 3 numbers?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, I just type it below. So I just go add, and then I wait, because I scrolled a bit further so I can see.
Yeah, sure.
And then I go for the Y, and then I do the arrow and go for the Z.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I also have to write this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Okay.
So
and now I'm gonna need help.
Yep.
Okay,
so let's see. First thing, let me do this first. So let's move it here close to the other one, and I think we just need to give it a new name, because then it will clash with the existing name.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
Okay, cool. So now can you figure out how to print it and how to call it, like we did like in the main function below?
I mean, I just go log show, right?
Yep.
And I add the $sign.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fine.
Okay. And we go for the arrow. And
okay, you forgot the lambda for the Z there.
Yeah, my bad. Okay. And now I can also do the second version of this by doing add 3 and 1, 2, 3.
Cool. 2 minor things. So this needs to go here because otherwise it will not work. You can't just put things at random, and then you typed a small s here. But other than that, it's perfect. Okay, so we can run it, and then you'll see 6 and 6, right? So it's it definitely